Modern life often feels like being swept along by a current. We wake up, scroll through the same endless feeds, absorb the same algorithms, and drift through the day as part of a single organism. Søren Kierkegaard identified this psychological drifting in the 1840s while walking these streets in Copenhagen. He watched his neighbors conform to the golden age of Danish culture and realized something was missing. At the time, thinkers were obsessed with building massive, universal systems of logic to explain the world. Kierkegaard mocked them. He saw philosophers building palaces of thought, while they themselves lived in a small, adjacent shack, completely ignoring the reality of what it means to actually exist. Because the knower is always an existing individual, truth cannot be found in a book of formulas. It resides entirely within the subjective, internal reality you are experiencing right now. To map out how a person escapes the crowd, Kierkegaard outlined 3 distinct stages of life. The first is the aesthetic stage. A person in this phase chases fleeting distractions. You feel desire, consume to satisfy it, reach boredom, and pivot to a new desire, always moving, never advancing. By avoiding permanent commitments and treating life as a buffet, the individual never develops a cohesive identity. Eventually, the novelty of consumption wears off. Kierkegaard warned that living entirely on the surface leads to a profound sense of despair, the realization that despite all the noise, your life lacks a center. Breaking this cycle requires the individual to stop drifting and take absolute conscious ownership of their own identity. Stepping out of the aesthetic life means finally confronting the weight of your own choices. It is the moment you realize that you alone are responsible for who you become. This realization produces a specific psychological state Kierkegaard called anxiety, or the dizziness of freedom. Think of standing at the edge of a sheer cliff. The sudden terror you feel isn't just the fear of falling, it's the panic of realizing you possess the absolute freedom to jump. You are entirely responsible for what happens next. Confronting that terrifying awareness of possibility is the price of becoming an authentic human being. To ground themselves against this dizziness, many move into the second phase, the ethical stage. This is the life of the good citizen. You adopt societal norms, you get married, find a steady job, and fulfill your duties. You align your life with universal moral laws. In the 19th century, philosophers like Hegel argued that this, conforming to the ethical rules of the state, was the highest achievement for a human. But Kierkegaard saw the ethical stage as another trap. If you only follow the rules of society, you aren't really choosing for yourself. You are just letting the universal think for you. Universal rules are designed to manage the crowd. They are incapable of answering the deepest, most agonizing personal crises of a single individual's soul. While systems can organize a nation, an existential system is impossible. To find true meaning, the individual must eventually outgrow the safety of universal rules. This culminates in the third and final stage, the religious life. Writing as Johannes de Silentio, Kierkegaard analyzed the biblical story of Abraham and Isaac to define this threshold. By universal moral law, Abraham is a murderer. There's no ethical logic justifying killing his son, but he prepares to do it, moving beyond society's rules. This act is what Kierkegaard called an absolute relation to the absolute. Because Abraham cannot explain his reasons without sounding like a criminal, he is perfectly alone. That acting on a truth that nobody else can validate, he finally severs his tie to the crowd and becomes a true individual. This total commitment to something society deems irrational is the leap of faith. It is the point where logic ends and raw, passionate choice begins. For Kierkegaard, faith fiercely rejected passive, culturally inherited religion. He hated the official church, feeling it reduced Christianity to a fashionable tradition for the herd. Objective truth is a list of static facts, but subjective truth is a lived relationship radiating from the individual's inner experience. Kierkegaard argued how an individual relates to their truth, the passion and risk taken, is vastly more important than the objective facts. Decades before Sartre or Nietzsche, Kierkegaard proved that human existence precedes any abstract logical system. He pioneered the idea that we must create our own meaning through action. The meaning of your life cannot be inherited from the crowd or calculated from a book of rules. It must be passionately, individually, and bravely chosen.